Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and today we're going to be talking about collaboration and specifically bringing Premiere Pro team projects collaboration to everyone. Now, this is something that we've discussed on stream before, even a couple of years ago. And when we discussed team projects at the time, you actually had to be using a specific version of Creative Cloud to take advantage of team projects. Well, today I'm joined by my guest, Abhi Singh, and he's going to talk to you about the fact that first and foremost, anyone who has access to Premiere Pro has access to team projects. So that means that you can collaborate with people, multiple people in your Premiere Pro projects, sharing and working in the same project, leveraging the same types of media. It's going to show you all different types of different ways of connecting media to the team project, whether you use natively, something like Frame.io, which everyone has access to, or other services like Box or Dropbox, or even something like LucidLink for all of your media storage. And then we're even going to do a little bit of a side-by-side collaboration to really kind of showcase that workflow. This is awesome. And in the world that we're in today, listen, a lot of times we want to work with other people. Maybe you're cutting the main timeline, but someone else is going to make all of your social shorts. Maybe you're doing the video, but they're working on the audio. This is now accessible to anybody who has Premiere Pro, so I'm super excited to be able to talk to you about this today. Now, as always, of course, we're coming to you live across Behance, YouTube, the Twitters, and a couple of other places as well, so thank you so much for joining. I can see we've got Megan in there. What's up, Megan, Billy, Reverb Mike, Oliver Andrews, Tim, Christelle Richard, Michael Wheeler, Uriel, Oliver, Jennifer, Stephen, Darwin, great to see you. So thank you so much for joining. All right, well, listen, we've got a lot of stuff to get to. I don't want to waste any time. And we're going to get real deep in this. Now, here's the thing. If you remember when my colleague Carl Soule was with me, we kind of took you through team projects. Abhi's going to show you really step by step how to set this up, how to get started, and then he and I are going to work on a collaborative project together. And I've got all of my screens set up so that you can actually see how this works in real time. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my dear friend and colleague, Abhi Singh. How are you doing, my friend? Great to see you.
Great to see you, Jason. Thanks for having me. And hello, everyone who's on the stream.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, this is a long time coming, and just so everyone knows, we've actually got a little series over the next month where Abhi is going to be joining me, and I'll be frank, doing most of the work on the stream. I just get to really color commentate. It's great. Thank you. I'm putting you to
You'll be
work here.
happy, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
excited to work with you on this today.
Well, this is awesome. So I thought maybe we could just start by, having you tell everybody who's watching. Again, you're kind of new to this audience, sort of what you do at Adobe, and how you got sort of involved in this and what we're going to be kind of showcasing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a product manager here at Adobe working on the Video Cloud team, and I'm looking at cloud and collaboration in particular. I was a video editor for 10 years myself, and certainly, as we all know, with the pandemic, and just generally where the industry was going, but of course, the pandemic accelerated that.
Yeah.
We're all working in some sort of remote environment. We are working with people who are in different parts of the country. And one of the things that really excites me about what we're going to be showing today is with team projects, we actually have a collaborative offering that lets people work together in a much more efficient way than what's been available before.
Yes, yes. And I think too, again, not to just to reiterate, this is now available to anyone who uses Premiere Pro. So previously, some of you may remember, we still have multiple offerings of Creative Cloud. There's Creative Cloud Individual, Creative Cloud for Teams, Creative Cloud for Enterprise, and it used to be restricted to Teams and Enterprise. Now it's for everybody. If you've
It's
got,
for
yep,
everybody. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Like you said, Jason, it doesn't matter which type of license you bought, and that's something that's actually really exciting. And hopefully, as we go through this today and go through the setup, etc., you'll see that it's really easy to set up, and it's really something that anybody can get into relatively easily without having to, think about a lot of setup or anything like that.
awesome, awesome. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we are, let's not waste any time. We got a lot of stuff to show, so I'm just going to switch my screen for everybody here. And I've tried to make these as easy to follow as possible. So we're on Abhi's machine right now. Of course, this is our traditional home screen in Premiere. So why don't you kind of walk us through the process of just starting the team project? And I think you were mentioning, just so that everybody understands, you can do this without going to any other external service. Everything that you have in Premiere as an individual user, you can use. So I think you're going to use Frame.io for part of this. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, you can use, everything that's available just as part of your subscription right now. So yeah, let's just get into it. So if you want to, like Jason said, this is the home screen. If you want to create a new team project, you can go through your file new menu, but it's also just available on your home screen. You can just go ahead and create a new team project here. It's asking me to name it, and I'm just going to name it Jason here.
Perfect choice.
And
Good choice.
we can go ahead and create that project. And now, once that project is created, you could have your media, on your local hard drive. You could have it on a cloud location somewhere like Dropbox or Box or anything that you might be using. For today's demo, I just have these clips here in Frame, right? So Frame.io, as you know, is available for all of our users as
Yep.
part of their subscription as well. And in this case, I'm just going to bring in these clips here and import these files. I'll bring in the originals.
Nice. And what you're doing here is you have this media stored in Frame, which again, all individual users have access to. And you're basically just, because it's in the cloud, you're just downloading them so that they're local so that you can start working with them in the project. And it'll also import them simultaneously. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It gave me a location to store them. I now have this media available in my drive, in my project, and I can see that there's a couple of things here different. One is I can see there's a changes column, right, because I'm in Premiere, and it's
Nice.
allowing me to keep track of the status of each of the assets I have in my project. So I can see this is an unpublished movie. I'm going to go ahead and publish this here, and just say, first setup, right? And that node is then available to my collaborators as well. And once I feel, relatively good, maybe I want to go ahead and create a sequence here about my setup. I can go ahead and start inviting people as well. And you see here right now, it's just me in the project. But if I click this icon here, it says invite users to collaborate. I can send this to you, Jason. And so long as you have access to the media in Frame as well, you'll be able to work and see exactly what I'm seeing in my project as well. So really easy setup, like, very much the same way you'd set up a standalone Premiere project file,
Right.
and bring in your media either through media browser, or in this case, we brought it in from Frame, do the invite, and then that collaborators come in, and as long as they have access to the media as well, they're seeing exactly what you're seeing.
I love that. And by the way, I just want to point out too, so we're taking your questions live, but my colleague Gino Alberto is also in the Behance chat. So if you have specific questions around this, please don't hesitate to ask. Gino is standing by. One thing about this that I love and I want to point out too is, so, if anyone watched any of the keynotes from Adobe Max, or you've kind of been following some of the stories we've been telling around collaboration as a whole at Adobe, one of the things that I love about this, and you just showed it, is when we're sort of adding collaborators and that whole process of, again, using the tools in the upper right of the UI, very similar to, say, like, essentially share for review that we have in Photoshop and Illustrator, similar to the way that you add collaborators and, again, give me access to footage in your Frame project. It all sort of functions in the same sort of way. So, and then once you're here, as you just pointed out, it's actually no different than just having a regular Premiere project. It doesn't change the way that you actually structure anything, except now you just have to figure out where's the media coming from and with whom am I sharing it. So it doesn't change anything, but it just gives you a little more flexibility to continue to work with more people, which is just so, so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you mentioned just like a standard project, so one of the things we can look at, over here as well, is let's just close the Steam project, and let's go ahead and just create a regular Premiere Pro project, right? So if I'm creating a new project here, I'm just going to select some sample media and go ahead and I'll call this Jason 2 maybe.
You're very creative with your naming there, Abhi. Good job.
And I brought that media in. So what if I was starting with a standalone project, right? And now I've been working in the standalone project for a while, but now I want to invite collaborators. Well, that's also fairly easy to do because we have the capability for you to go in and convert that project to a team project. What that'll do is it'll take that project and host it on our cloud, and I can go ahead and just invite you straight away to this project here.
Yeah. Awesome.
And now this project is a team project.
That's awesome. And that actually speaks to, I see Gino Marbella just asked a question here. If I have assets locally stored, do I still have to share that folder with collaborators, or is that sharing done automatically by Premiere? So to this point, so the project itself can become a team one that's stored in the cloud, but the assets, yes, you would want to put them either in Frame or in Dropbox or somewhere else where you can share that media so that your collaborators have access to that to be able to download locally if that service is what that requires, right?
Yeah. And the nice thing about team projects as well is that unlike the standalone project, you can have the project allows for different file paths for different collaborators. So if you have your media in a different drive or even on a different cloud location, you can link to that, and I can be linking to media on a separate drive, and all of that works seamlessly.
Yeah, and we've shown Frame a couple times, and I've said it before. And one of the things that I love that you just showed converting and actually, can you show that menu item again where people
Yeah, for
convert the
sure.
project to team
So if you
projects?
go on to edit team project, you can convert a team project to you can convert a project to a team project. In this case, it's grayed out because we just did the conversion.
Right,
You
right.
can go the other way around as well. If you want to just take a team project, make it a standalone project, it allows for that too.
Yeah, this is so great. I just so I was just working on, actually, you've all seen it on stream, this video podcast that we've been working on. So again, my colleague Teresa, she'll be going live with those probably within the next month. And as you saw, I've actually been doing the multicam cutting and the sound design. But in fact, there's a couple other episodes where I don't have time to finish up the sound design. So these were already standalone projects. All the media, however, happened to be in a combination. Some of it was in Frame, some of it was in Lucid, which we're going to be showcasing momentarily.
Yep.
So it was so easy. Actually, I forgot that that you could convert the standard project to team project, and then I could just share it, and then it was basically handing it off to someone else to do. And because they have access to it, they can see what I've already done to basically replicate it and, keep moving. It was so great.
Yeah, and that's exactly right? You might want to spend some time just with a standalone project doing setup or getting organized, and then at some point want to bring in a collaborator. And the conversion of the project to a team project lets you do that.
Nice. Okay, so just checking here. What other comments we have? Okay, all moving around. Hey, Gino. Okay, there's Gino about us. Looking good. All right. So I just mentioned Lucid Link. Now, we've featured Lucid Link on stream before. We're going to talk more about them in depth. We're going to do a collaborative project now in real time. And again, the media could have just as easily been living in Frame or in Dropbox or elsewhere. We're just using Lucid specifically for this as kind of our storage medium. And maybe you give a quick 20 seconds why we're doing it that way.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Lucid is, like Box and Dropbox, it docks on your machine. So over here, where you see Adobe, this is my Lucid Link dock, and I have my media here. And the project that we're working on is in this cloud team project. And because, Jason, you have access to this Lucid Link folder, and I do as well.
Yeah.
And the way Lucid Link works is that it's actually streaming media to your project. When I invite you to the project, you have instant access to the media. You don't have to download. We can start working right away, close to instantly, without having to take a number of steps.
Nice. Yeah, it's great. So again, we're going to get a full, for anyone who's interested, next week, Abhi and I are going to be covering that. We might have someone from Lucid joining us as well. It's one of many storage solutions. And again, I just want to reiterate for everyone watching, and again, some of you are new to Premiere, some of you are maybe considering collaboration, and maybe, using another service. Maybe you're not paying for Dropbox monthly or whatever. You don't have to use anything else to get started with collaboration. You already have access to, and did we confirm, what is the Frame storage by default for individual users? I can't remember. Is it 500 gigs?
500 gigs, that's right.
500 gigs.
Yeah.
So without purchasing any additional storage, everybody has 500 gigs worth of media that they can store and share and add collaborators with via Frame. So again, just as a way to test, I'll be the first to say, hey, I do some pretty big edits and things for Adobe. I'm never collaborating with more than one person though, so I don't need more than that for me in general. it's a good way to test it. And certainly if I do, I can use Lucid, which I have access to. But you get what I'm saying. So it's accessible to everybody right out of the box, so to speak, right out of the cloud download. That's a better way to put it. Right out of the box. That's a phrase that no one will understand over time. Well, maybe they will because Amazon's not going anywhere, but certainly not in terms of software. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Gino's correcting us. It's 100 gigs frame
100
storage
gigs.
included with Creative Cloud. All right. Hey, still no small potatoes. And you know how I feel about colloquialisms. It's, again, if you're doing something like this, and I recommend this too in general for collaborations, good opportunity to play with proxies, particularly if you're the one doing the finishing. Let people edit with proxies. That collab experience is going to be even better. And this is something we'll talk about right with Lucid next week, which is, yes, we could all work with native 8K, and Abhi and I, we were joking, we're both on very, very fast connections, so we could do that, but not everybody has great connections. So it behooves you to, look into using things like proxies, which are going to take up significantly less storage. Again, if you're just kind of testing out this environment, that's a great way to do it. So, okay. And Gino's mentioning, now we'll get there so anyone following the chat. Version history, there's a lot of things you can do. We're going to be covering all this in just a moment. But
absolutely.
Are you already in the Lucid project? Do I need to open it up on my side?
It'd be great if you open it up. And as you're opening that up, I can talk about a few things that we mentioned briefly, which is we have now, some updated UI and team projects, which hopefully makes it a lot easier for you to collaborate. One is we have something called a presence indicator. So if I click on that, I can see who's in the project right now. Since Jason is coming online, he's currently there. We just saw him come online, which is great. And Gino is currently offline at this point. And then, the invite users we went through as well, but really simple to just really invite anybody. If they're in your Outlook directory, you can also invite people who may be in a group in your Outlook contact list as well, if you want to just invite a group of collaborators. And then we also have updated UI where you can see the status, like I said, of each column. In this case, since I just opened the project and I did a publish from the last time that I'd opened it, everything is up to date. But Jason, maybe if he can show, both our screens side by side.
Yep.
I'm going to show a couple of other additional things that we've added here. So I just have a very simple sequence here. It's a 16:9 sequence, and in this case, we're going to try and collaborate where I might want Jason to recut that for, say, Instagram or Twitter to vertical. But before I do that, I'm going to just add a clip to this sequence.
Yeah. And by the way, as you're doing that, I'm just going to point out, because again, I've got zoom ability here. You can see that it's telling me, so right at the moment, because Abhi's working in this, it's view only. So I can't trim. Like if I hover my mouse over this, I don't have any trim controls on my side because he's doing stuff. He's adding to it. And again, I love some, I'm a big fan of when we kick booty with good UI.
Yeah.
A, that's you, you're A, I'm J, is editing.
Yeah.
By the way, you can't see it, Abhi, but it's like full screen side by side. So this is great. I mean, a lot of indicators here to tell me what's happening. Also, as he was pointing out under the changes column here, showing you what content is up to date. So super efficient, super effective. And there's this update and publish button. You'll tell me when to engage that when necessary. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in this case, like Jason was pointing out, I also saw a change indicator in my project panel, which shows that I'm editing, right? So I know what's got locked. And the other thing that you notice probably is my publish button lit up because I made a change, added a clip to a sequence. And now, I feel like this is the right number of clips that I want to send to Jason. I can go ahead and do a publish. And I can, write a note for Jason, please recut to vertical for social, right? And I can just do a publish. Now on Jason's side, he'd get an update notification.
Yep. See that? So should I go ahead and click that?
Yeah, go ahead and click that. And you should see that sequence now has the additional clip that we just added to that sequence available for you.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. Very cool. Now, where do I access any of the commentary and stuff that you just mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the media browser panel, and we get into this with version history as well. If you click on the Team Projects Masterclass demo, and then you right click on it and say Team Project Versions, you'll see all the comments for each version and each publish that we've done. So I just said, Jason, please recut to vertical for social, and it's available there.
Nice. Yep, and there it is. And again, this is where we're going to come to in a moment here, the versions and auto saves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jason, now that if you have the sequence, one of the nice things about it is, as you pointed out, even though you can't do any trim operations, because actually at this point you would be able to, because I did a publish and I released the lock. But let me go ahead and take that lock just one more time here.
Okay.
I went ahead and made a change, and that has locked it to me as well.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can duplicate the sequence. You can copy or cut any of the clips that are in my sequence. So if you're working together, it's not that you don't have access to the media on my sequence.
Right.
It's just that you can't make changes while I have it locked for editing on my side till I click a publish and release that lock and have it available for you.
Right. Nice. So yeah, so maybe this is an opportunity. We were talking about this before, like if we wanted to cut a version of this, a social version, and use a function off a duplicate of this timeline doing something like auto reframe. So
That's
this is
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to duplicate my version of the sequence. And by the way, I'm zooming in for everybody so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to duplicate that 16:9 sequence. I'm going to rename it as well. And we'll call this social promo. And from there, as Abhi continues to work, I'm simply going to choose to auto reframe the sequence. And this is something which, again, we've covered a lot here on stream. Anybody who's not familiar with this is one of those, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is this an AI machine learning sensei feature?
Yes.
You doing this? Okay, yeah. So what this does for the uninitiated is this basically looks at your sequence and it allows you to target not only these preset aspect ratios, but any format you want. So if you want to go vertical for, Reels or Shorts or TikTok or where else, or 4:5 or some custom orientation, it will, using machine learning and AI, identify sort of the subject that's moving in your frame and reframe the video accordingly so that it's sort of centered in this new format that you choose. So if we wanted to do a vertical 9:16 for the social promo, notice it also appends that to the end of the name by default. Got a couple of motion tracking options here, slower, faster default. 99% of the time I use default unless it's, I think we had a demo years ago where it was sort of really fast downhill skiing and the faster motion tracking was better. Right. The default, and even still the default usually works pretty well. Just go ahead and click create on that. And it's doing all the work. Okay, so here we are now down in my timeline. You see social promo, and you notice it's vertical. And this is also another opportunity. If I go into the vertical workspace here, I just love this. I love the way this looks. This is not reinventing the wheel, but I just love the way the UI looks in this vertical. I don't know why. I don't know why we didn't do this workspace sooner. Probably because vertical was such a faux pas for so long, but you know, it isn't anymore. And if I play this back, you can see that it has reframed our subject in this vertical space, vertical frame, beautifully, without doing anything. And if I were to select a particular clip and go into effects, I love it. It automatically, you can make changes to it after the fact as well. So, you have full editability of this. But this is one of the workflows that again, Abhi kind of re-inspired me to revisit this. This is exactly what I did is in another project, I did the main cut and they're like, oh, can you make a few shorts? And I was burnt. I was just burned. I'm like, no, I cannot. I cannot cut anything down.
I'm done.
I'm done. I'm fried. have someone else do it. And this is an awesome opportunity to use the team project. And again, as I mentioned, it just so happens that all the media, it was in Frame. It wasn't even in Lucid. So it was super easy to share it and to get someone in there. So at this point now, again, you don't yet have access to this. So I'm going to go ahead and publish.
Absolutely.
As Abhi just showed you. So let's go ahead and publish this. And I will comment and say, here's the vertical social cut down. Revisions coming. Publish. All right, little progress meter there.
Awesome.
And you get the little update button notification.
Yeah, that just lit up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do an update here. And now I have a social promo, which I'm just going to take a look at. That looks great. Awesome. And I also have your auto reframe sequence here as well.
Nice.
That's your vertical sequence. Perfect. That looks great. Thanks for doing that, Jason. So really easy way, right? The other use case you can think of here is, some folks might be working with somebody who's creating selects for them, right? Is that they can go ahead and create the selects, do an update, add to those selects, and then you can pull media from those selects sequences as you continue to work on your edit. You don't have to wait for everything to be done. You can start working concurrently as well. So
I love it. I love it. Now, again, as we continue to work on this, so in fact, here, I'm going to go back to our side-by-side because I want to showcase the versioning as well. Actually, so maybe while I'm doing that, as I'm in here, so in that same media browser tab, and again, this is located under Creative Cloud, Team Project versions here. People will note that we have versions and auto saves. So I'm going to go back to your sequence, which is not locked anymore, right? So I can. Oh, it's telling me view only. Do I need to?
Oh, let me go ahead and do a publish so I can release all the locks on my side.
Cool. Because I'm gonna make some dramatic changes. Not really.
Yeah, go for it.
Add some color. I'm gonna build up some versions, everybody. That's what we're doing. But in the meantime, maybe you could talk to the auto save because it's funny. We were just talking, right? We were talking about the communities. And by the way, just to shout that out, if anyone here is in the sort of Reddit Premiere Pro community or Facebook Premiere Pro editors group, I now have a presence there. I've been pretty active on Reddit, and I've been lurking for a long time on Reddit, but just started posting this month. So it's actually pretty awesome, and it's a great way to get really right in front of me with a lot of things. So check those out. But we were just talking, and because I was commenting that autosave. You have a lot of options to change autosave, but the default options we often hear are maybe not the most ideal. People still sometimes lose stuff. Maybe you could talk about what's really awesome about the autosave here and specific to, because this is cloud-based, team projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and let's actually look at that. So if you're working in a standalone Premiere project, as we all know, we have the ability to set our time, right? I've set it to 5 minutes and the maximum number of project versions. What's really cool about team projects is that with team projects, every change that you make is being saved. So if I look at my autosave history, I don't have to set it to 5 minutes or 2 minutes or anything like that. I can roll back as far as I want on my autosave history, and every save that I have made has been saved in the project. I can go ahead and right click on that menu, and then I can make a new team project from any autosave that I have, and also access my team project autosaves. Version history is a little bit different in that it's keeping track of the milestones that you have. So every time somebody does a publish, we consider that a milestone in the project. They can add a comment to it. That's what we looked at, Jason, where when we were looking at the team project versions, I can see a log of all the publishes that have been done on this project. And I can go ahead and I can also create a new team project from any version that I like as well.
That's so cool. So cool. By the way, I'm using some, we were just covering this last week, some Lumetri color here just to do some real basic luma and saturation adjustments, adding some LUTs here.
Nice.
Just kind of unifying some of the look stylistically. And, again, one of the things that I love and that I think everybody can certainly identify with and embrace is what Abhi just said, which is, we're saving, it's just saving all the time.
Yeah.
Really try to make this as sort of foolproof, safety-proof as possible so that you're never kind of in that awkward position of,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We've all been there from time to time, and it's not fun. So
Yeah.
that is, while I said it doesn't necessarily change the way you're doing anything, actually some of what's happening in the background is different. It has changed, but all for good. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's my little my new edit. So if you're looking at Abhi's, you can see again nothing super dramatic, but yeah, little LUT application, some sat changes. I like this one. Nice little treatment on this one here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also say with just going back to the autosaves for a minute is all your autosaves with team projects are saved on your local machine and they're also saved on the cloud. So, I just spoke to somebody who had, unfortunately a crash happened with Premiere. They were able, just with their computer in general, and they were able to get a new machine, open up the team project from the cloud. They were up and running in no time at all without any loss of data, which is
That's awesome.
fantastic.
By the way, Vasco Sareva is saying you could preview the LUTs directly on the panel. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, I was just going to point that out. So again, we're going to talk more about this next week, just sprinkling this out there. But you'll note that I'm working with the footage that Abhi shared with me, which is stored in the cloud, and you're seeing all of this as I'm scrubbing through, adding effects, playing it back. It's playing really nicely. So, yeah, we're not even dropping. You can't see it, Abhi, but I'm zoomed in on the drop frame indicator, and it is maintaining green.
Oh, excellent. That's great.
So
That's
really great. Yeah.
That's great to hear. It did also Jason, it'd be also maybe useful to mention a little bit about media relinking here. Would that be something?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's an improvement that we made in team projects is team projects, previously used to have its own media management, but now if I go and I just make this clip, I'm just going to go ahead and just make it go offline for a minute here. It's going to rely on exactly the same relinking that Premiere has, right? So I've gone ahead and made it offline. And then if I want to relink it, I have the exact same dialog that the Premiere Pro project has. So I can just go ahead and locate that media. It's right over here and bring it back online. No problem at all. Previously, we had a more cumbersome process, which is we had team projects media management, which still continues to exist, but we are doing all of that in the background. From a user perspective, all the tools that are available to them today with media relinking and Premiere project files is now in team projects as well.
Nice. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate for everybody watching, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about real-time collaboration using team projects, which is available for everyone who has Premiere Pro. It's not just for Creative Cloud Teams members as it once was. It's available for anybody who's using Premiere Pro, whether you're Creative Cloud individual, Teams, or Enterprise. And this is really our mass market offering for co-editing. This is where we're sort of building the foundation. It's available to all subscription types. And, this is where we're investing, and this is what we're going to keep building upon. And if you started using team projects back in the day, I mean, you're going to notice already there's a fluidity to it that's improved. But ultimately this is taking us to that next step of really expanding the offering. And again, we're just at the very beginnings of sort of leveraging the cloud for a lot of this stuff, and leveraging the power. But as you're seeing here in our little live stream, we're able to do this pretty standard with some mixed footage up in the cloud there, and it doesn't feel any different. And that's my main selling point is it feels like it does when we're working individually. And if it doesn't break that and it's good, then you're that much happier. So I invite everyone to check it out today. Find a friend. Start a team, convert something you're working on to a team project. Throw some media. Again, maybe you have Lucid, maybe you have Dropbox, maybe you just have access to Frame. Put some footage in there, give them access, and try. Or just try something. Try it. And then tell us. And tell us how the experience was. And if it's great, awesome. If you had issues, let's talk about it. Let's help. You can, again, find me on Twitter, as you know. I just mentioned Reddit, and of course the Premiere Pro Facebook group. Or again, you can always ping here on YouTube and Behance and elsewhere. But we really want to hear about this because you're going to be seeing a lot of this over the next couple of weeks. And it's, it's the beginning. Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. Just wanted to say, there's a number of improvements we're making on team projects. One of the things we've been looking at a lot is just how we can increase performance, bring in things into team projects even quicker than we are. So that's something to just keep an eye out for. We're doing a lot of work on that to make sure project open times are super snappy, project save times are super snappy as well. So
yeah.
That's something, because team projects operates more akin to a database, we are able to make smaller delta save changes and open projects in a more optimal way.
Nice. Now, just on that, and I don't know if this is something you can showcase visually, but even in the most recent Premiere, 23.1, you already mentioned some like sequence locking. That's a new addition. Just added right towards the end of the year, or the beginning of this year. So, are there any other additional like new features for those people who've been using team projects that they'll encounter?
Yeah, so there, a lot of this presence indicators, the update, publish, are all new. So a lot of this UI is new.
Okay.
The presence indicator and invite as well. The other thing that you can check out in beta today is we have a new offline online capability. So if we are working on this project, Jason, and you say, I'm tired of being in my studio, I'm going to go to a coffee shop,
right?
Or you're going to get on a plane for some reason and edit, and you make those changes. But I happen to be in the sequence while you're on that plane making the edit. We'll save the changes you made on that plane in a duplicate sequence for you. So that's available in beta. It's going to make offline editing much more streamlined that users can try out today. The other thing is the faster loading, what we call progressive project loading, is also available in beta, where we are actually looking at which sequences you're working on, which media you're actually opening, and loading those first for you so that we don't have to load the entire project just for you to get started. We know what you have open, we know what you're working on, and we load those objects. We load that media first for you.
Nice. This is something we're doing, I think, in Premiere, like just standard projects too, right? Aren't we doing some more intelligent project loading, media loading?
Yes, and over time, our intention is to make all of this available just as a single project in Premiere, right? So you don't have to create a special type of project. You start, working in the project that you're used to, and you have these collaboration capabilities available to you, regardless of which project type you created.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, I'm just checking the chats here. Okay. I think everyone's just in awe. Not too many questions. Alberto, you're getting off easy today, my friend. Next week's going to be harder. No. All right. So right now we're just, I'm going to bring back your screen.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, this is because as we've got about 15 more minutes, and then we can take questions at the end. Let's talk about the export process and what that looks like. So actually here, I was going to do one more little tweak. I'm just going to do something very extreme here. In fact, I'm going to add a little adjustment there, because this is I think one of those things that sometimes eludes users, which is like, okay, what does that finishing process look like? Like, where is it done? How does that, and that's the thing, is it's no different, right? It doesn't change. Anyone could theoretically do it, but because of all the new update indicators and everything that's happening, you're always kind of up to date, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, on the finishing side, you just want to make sure you're up to date. You publish any changes, so all your collaborators have the same source of information. Everybody's up to date with the latest information. And with the change column, we can actually see that everybody's up to date. I can see that Jason, you're editing the 16.9 sequence. Again, I can copy media out of that and duplicate the sequence, but as Jason pointed out earlier, all my editing controls are grayed out.
Yep. And by the way, it just told me that I needed to update your changes first before I do mine. So we just did that. I added a little adjustment layer to do a sort of black and white treatment on this. And actually, while I'm at it here, I'm going to do the same thing on the vertical one, just to give us a little bit more of that, of those versions.
Great. And I noticed I have an update available, which I can just bring in. I see your adjustment layer here. Oh, that's a nice look.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I think, right?
Yeah.
Little cinematic.
Uh-huh.
Like I created it. It's just a LUT, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Gotta sell it.
Yeah.
All right.
Very noir, Jason.
Very noir, yes. I'm also adding way too much sharpening, which I normally wouldn't do, but again, it's just for the stream. So, and I'm gonna add some vignetting on there too, on our social version. That actually looks really cool. This footage, again, people watched last week. I told you, Abhi, I use the silver salt stuff all the time. So this footage is also provided via our friends at Silver Salts in Germany. They provided the footage a lot of the footage I was using last week.
Awesome.
So, and this is what's great. I mean, again, you see who's working, you see the updates, you see what's happening.
Yeah.
Now we have all of these different versions in here, which just makes it so much easier. And everything I've got. Oh, we're still on your screen, so you're just seeing the updates. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the updates, just bringing them in as you're working there as well.
You see that you get. So I'm zoomed in on my side now. You're getting the date and the time when those were modified, and this is your version slider. So again, if I go back to this one here, okay, now that's showing me that version. Notice in the timeline, if you're watching. So again, now this is the non-black and white one showing up here. Okay, real simple, and then I can go back to the black and white one. Reopen that. So it just makes it really easy to track all the things that are happening here, and I love this. I love how easy we're making this, because especially in the collaborative world, I mean, this is something I think that a lot of us faced in previous incarnations of various things where you were sort of collabing in the cloud. I think it was more, yes, I mean, I guess there's theoretically you can still run into sort of conflicts. We do a pretty good job of resolving that, but versioning and things was clunky. Yeah. And again, just to give props to the team, it's really clean now. Like, this just feels super, super clean.
Yeah,
and how you're kind of going through things. It shows you who's made the change. Again, this little, yes, it's text, so you have to read it up here, but I'm scrolling through so people can see. So there's Abhi's changes, the time he made them. I mean, it's as well done, I think, as one might expect, and it just makes it a lot easier to follow along.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we are also going to be working on is just making improvements to that version history, to that autosave history, bringing that more into the UI, not just into the media browser as well. So there's a lot of work that we're doing to make this experience even more seamless than what we have today. The other thing I want to mention briefly, Jason, is when you are done with your project, this is your list of all the team projects you might be working on. You can go ahead and any project that you're done with, you can go ahead and archive it, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
On the cloud, and remove the collaborators. And you can always recover it from the archive as well. So everything is stored in the cloud for you. the things that you don't need anymore, you can put on the archive side of things and then restore it whenever you need.
And just to clarify, it's archiving wherever your footage lives. So in this case, it's archiving it in Lucid. If it were in Frame, it would do the same thing, but it removes the collaborator. So it's basically mark as done kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, nice. Very cool. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think honestly, this is awesome, and hopefully this has inspired some people to look into this. I'm just gonna pull away from your screen for a moment. So, well, I've got a couple more minutes. I'm looking through. I see Gino is answering questions. Thank you very much, sir. Hey, Cody, what's up? Anyone have any additional questions for Abhi around team projects? Want to reiterate once again, like the commercial man that I am, this is available to any user of Premiere Pro. So whether you're on Creative Cloud Individual, Creative Cloud for Teams, or Enterprise, check it out. It's as simple as creating a team project from the same home screen that you're working in. Again, a lot of the controls that you need to add collaborators and status of online, offline editing, you're going to find in those upper right-hand icons that we've kind of now standardized across all of the video and audio and design applications, which I love. I know there's some elements of that not everybody loves. Can't please them all the time. But I love that that has become standard, the sort of invite to edit, share for review. In this case, what do we actually label this? Edit collaborators. Yeah. It all feels and functions very similarly, and I love this. So, you know, even if you're someone, this is another good example, Abhi. You know, I was doing over the holidays, I did a couple little Christmas edits here on the stream, and I'm no designer. Everyone who watches knows that. And I mean, I use a lot of templates and things, Adobe Express among them, but I have a friend who's a really great designer, wanted them to, you know, just put some better looking design behind some of the video that I had.
Yeah.
And I shared it with them. Now they're a Photoshop user. They don't use Premiere so much. They've used it, but they're not like editors.
Right.
But I said, look, all you have to do is take your images, Photoshop files, drop them in the timeline. I'll edit them. But that's it. So just share them in our shared storage. You do that much. You position them. But you have access. I don't have the files. And it was awesome. They're like, oh, yeah. And then they added someone else to look at their own work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was great. Yeah. So,
and now, Jason, with locking, right, we can actually do it in a way that we think is conflict-free. One of the things we struggled with in team projects before was people could be in the same sequence and stomp on each other's work. And now, as we just saw, it's much more of a graceful handoff between one person and the other person, or several people, depending on how many people you have on the project.
Yeah.
So
I did a Twitter poll actually a week or two ago, and I was asking in advance of this, unbeknownst to you, I think. But I did a Twitter poll asking, in sort of video collaboration, what do you consider the most? What do you consider collaboration and valid? And the first one was synchronous access of projects.
Right.
Asynchronous access, where it really is just a very straight handoff situation. And this is what I did, 10 years ago, where it's like, okay, I'm done with my bit. All of my stuff is wherever, probably Dropbox at the time, or even Creative Cloud Storage. Download the whole thing. You do your bit. You re-upload the thing and then send it back to me. So that's like asynchronous. Yes. And then the last was sort of share for review and everything. Yeah. And surprisingly, I was pretty sure that I didn't know exactly, but the synchronous access of media was, the share for review and everything was the number one. But yeah, people they want that freedom to be in the projects together and do. I was shocked actually that, because again, a lot of the collaborations before you reinvigorated my desire to use this was pretty much, okay, I've done my bit, I'm going to hand off the whole thing to you. Right. We weren't at the same time doing anything, you know. Yeah, it was very much a handoff, which is, by the way, that's fine too. Nothing wrong with that workflow. But particularly for, sort of timely social posts, you're finishing up an edit. Hey, Abhi, come in here, make a social version, cut this down real fast, just duplicate it. We're in the same project using the same stuff. That's a reality today that you wouldn't have thought of, 5, 6, 7 years ago necessarily, and
That's
certainly
absolutely
maybe
right.
not with team projects. And
Yeah.
it works now. It's really effective.
Yeah, and I think, Jason, we are planning on also having somebody come in and talk about sort of how this workflow might work with After Effects, right?
Yeah.
So I think we'll have another session on that, which I'm also super excited about because, like you said, I think the more we can bring in people working at the same time off the same like single source of truth, if you will,
Yeah.
it just makes things much more streamlined. People are able to come in and help with the project or provide their input way earlier in the process, so you don't necessarily have to wait for like a share for review. You can even imagine, if you're working with a producer or a director and they're pretty Premiere savvy, they can just come and look at your timeline,
Right.
right?
Right. Even as you're cutting it without messing anything up. Yeah.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
right, without having to do a render and an export and an upload and that entire process. So
Yeah. And just on that, and I think this will be a good way to wrap up, and I'll read a couple of the comments here. Um, you know, what you just described also is, and this is a tee up for next week,
yeah,
a lot of that is dependent on the sort of service and choice you make for where your media lives.
absolutely.
And the good news is there's a lot of options out there.
There's a
Um,
lot of options out there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and this is, I think we are definitely at a place where I certainly was one of those people who was shipping hard drives as well. I think that there are a lot of options now where this can be available, through the cloud instantly to all your collaborators, right?
Nice. So Harold Lopez is just asking, is there a way to have a shared CC files in a server like Edit Share and have various people pointing to the same folder?
Yes, so you can have like a library folder. You can use libraries same as you can in Premiere. Yes, the short answer is yes, you can do that.
Nice, nice. So Jan is saying, sounds interesting. I only knew the basics of the team features. I'm excited to see what you're up to. Yes, Jan, that's what we want to hear.
Absolutely.
Um, it is. I mean, again, sound like a used car salesman on a rotating tape loop here, but it's actually it's kind of changed the way that I think about doing a lot of these things because it is sort of fun. I don't know. I'll be the first to say I've lost some of the joy at times editing the little things that I do, and I'm not doing it on any grand scale per se, but
Right.
it's there is something not it's we've joked for a long time at Adobe. In fact, we used to have a doll that we sold, I think, at the Adobe store of the art director, who's standing over your shoulder and going, nope, do it the way you did yesterday, and all those sort of things. And it's just this push button toy that just says all these annoying things that art directors often say, not to be stereotypical. But
Right.
and I think there was a sense, even again, not so long ago, this type of collaboration, it might be too invasive.
Yeah.
And sure, that can absolutely be the case. But I can say that particularly if you're doing sort of, it can be pro level stuff, but you're doing it for social channels, for Twitter, for YouTube, for Vimeo, wherever, Reels, Shorts. I mean,
Yeah.
I know so many people now who that's where they're making their money is just doing vertical cut downs of existing content, and it's super lucrative. Having other people, as you just mentioned, maybe just another set of eyes,
Yeah.
maybe someone to go, hey, you know what, I love it. Maybe change the music that you're using or something, right? It's a great way to get people in real time in a way that actually works.
Yeah.
And it really works. And I love that. And that's, not to again sort of toot some of the things that we tout that we have. Essential Sound, we have Adobe Stock Audio. Of
Yeah.
course you can use your own music. There's a million services out there, but case in point, you're using some temp music, and I'm sharing it with Abhi. What do you think of this? Oh, the edit's great. Love the color correction, but I don't love that soundtrack. Maybe do something else. I threw a couple things
In there for
in
you.
some of the
Yeah.
other tracks for you,
Yeah.
and within seconds, I'm like, oh, great, awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you've got a fellow filmmaker or an editor, they can actually make that change for you and suggest it without messing with your work, right? So it's like a
I love it.
duplicating the sequence, copying your clips and saying, here's another suggestion for you, right? So it allows for people to work in an entirely different way. You don't have to, close your file. Somebody else is making that change, etc. You're in the Premiere project at the same time.
I love it. All right. Well, Abhi, it's been such a wonderful joy to have you on stream, but we are out of time. So again, thank you so much, everyone. We
Thank
will
you,
see
Jason.
Abhi next week. Again, thanks so much, man. This was great. And of course, have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again next time. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.